Good morning. So good to be back with you, although it's virtually at Christ Church this morning. Missed being here and being with this wonderful community. I wonder, for you boys and girls, how many of you have rules that you have to follow at home that your parents may have given you? And they might be any number of things. They might be, I had rules that I grew up with. One of them was to finish everything that was on my plate at dinner. That was one of the rules. You couldn't leave the dinner table until you cleaned your plate. Became a member of the Clean Plate Club. I don't know how many of you have that rule at home. I tried to get away with stuffing some vegetables into my pocket one time so I could leave the table. Not a good idea. Don't try that ever. But that was one of the rules that we had. Another rule was to clean up your room and pick up your toys and put them away in a good place, to make your bed. When I grew up, it got a little bit older, I had to mow the lawn every week. That was my allowance. So we had different rules that we had to follow. And and I'm mentioning rules because the people that were talking to Jesus during the last week of his life in Jerusalem asked him about rules and commandments. And one of them said, "Which is the greatest commandment?" You might ask yourself, if you've got a bunch of rules at home, which is the most important one that your parents have given you? And to think about that for a moment. It might be hard to answer that question, which is the most important rule that you have to live by. But so the Pharisees were asking Jesus a trick question when they asked him this. What's the greatest commandment? Because there were over 600 different commandments and rules and laws and instructions that had been given in the Jewish law. So which is the greatest one? Well, Jesus didn't hesitate to answer. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. That's the first and the greatest commandment. And then he said the second one is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And he really put these two commandments together. Love God and love your neighbor. And what's helpful for me about that, when I think about it, is that sometimes I wonder, who is God? What's God look like? Where do I find God? How can I love this God if I don't even quite know where to look for God? But Jesus tells us that if we want to look for God, we have to look for it in other people around us. You can find God in your family at home, in brothers and sisters, in your parents, because all of them are a reflection of the love of God. That's how you came to be, and that love is what guides us when we follow the rules that we're supposed to live in our lives. We clean up our rooms and pick up after ourselves at home because we love our parents who are taking care of us and expect that of us. We do other chores around the house. Sometimes you have to clear away dishes or pick up things. We do that because we love our parents and we want to help. And when we go out into the world and we realize what's the right way to behave, and we are kind to other people, and I know it's a special thing with me, and maybe a lot of us are not in school right now because of the coronavirus, but I hear a lot about people who pick on people and make fun of them. And sometimes they do it over the internet and send messages about people. That's so unkind and it's so hurtful. When we take somebody who might be very different from us and we actually love them and care for them and find something good to say about them, we are doing a wonderful thing. And what Jesus would be telling us is that that's a way of loving God. When you love your neighbor like that. And that means loving your neighbor, as he said, as yourself. When you love yourself, you come to know something about who you are, about to whom you truly belong, the fact that you're loved by your family, you're loved by God, and that we all make mistakes. We all do things that are not so good. We all have things that we would rather we didn't do, but we're forgiven and we're loved. And when we can accept that in ourselves, we can begin to look at other people and we can begin to love them That's what loving ourselves is all about, is accepting ourselves for who we truly are and then being able to share that with others. So I invite you, when you go through this week, to think about the different rules that you follow in your life, at home, at school, or wherever, to think about which one is the greatest one. And it might just be that they all come under the fact that you are to love God and you're to love other people in your family and outside your family, as you love yourself. And if you can do that, you're well on your way to a wonderful and abundant life. Amen.